League 3 weeks after literally the last football ended, and I think it's something that everyone's a little excited for. Don't know what to expect. We don't know what the season is going to hold. I'm hearing rumors of fans being allowed in like small. I think United are one who are considering having like 12,000 fans. But what do you guys make of this whole 3 week off period? What are you looking forward to most when the season starts?
I feel like
For me, the biggest...
the season's just going to be so different because there's no preseason, there's no time for like the new players who've come in to actually train under new managers, and the whole season, it's going to end at the same day, generally a Premier League season, and so the fixtures are going to be more compressed with all the competitions still there, like Champions League, this, that. So it's going to be a very weird season.
Season ever.
I mean, I found it really strange. I found it really strange that they decided to put international fixtures right before the season. Like, as it is, it's so cramped, and they want to put more fixtures. And I think Nations League, the most pointless goddamn.
I mean, Foden and Greenwood had a good time at least.
Yeah. No, and they did.
Did you guys see the one of the girls who they invited?
The videos?
I don't know. I just saw a picture, but it's just like this chick that's competing for Miss Universe, and she's extremely attractive. We'll just say.
Oh, did you see the video of her speaking?
Yeah. Video where she's like, "I'm gonna come to the hotel," and Foden's like, "For what?" And Greenwood's like, "What do you think for?" And even that girl,
and she's like, "Yeah, what do you think, bro?
What do you think for, bro? Like, what do you think I'm gonna come to the hotel?" But crazy, fun times, man. But those international fixtures have left a lot of players injured, and it's going to be a really, really interesting time. Even the next 2 breaks in the season are not really breaks; they're going to be 4 international fixtures, and I completely agree. That's
weird, also because of the entire quarantining rules that are there. Like they come back and they have to quarantine again, and some players might even miss the first few fixtures, at least the first fixture. So yeah, I didn't really see the point in this, especially at this time.
Yeah, so there's a lot riding on the season. Obviously, that doesn't take away from the importance of the season, irrespective of how the build-up is going to be and everything. It's still as important every player as every season is. So the first agenda I wanted to bring up with you guys is that first place. These are the 2 teams that have done maybe not as much. I think Chelsea's obviously been the biggest movers in the window, but City have been a little bit under the radar, made a couple of, I guess, astute signings in Torres.
Still spent like 100 million. But yeah,
still spent 100 million on the 2 players, but Liverpool haven't really done any transfer business. What do we expect from this? Do we expect it to be as comfortable as it was for Liverpool last season?
Definitely not. As you guys will see on our Instagram page, we've got some predictions coming in terms of where we all think the guys are going to end up. But just in terms of overall, definitely not going to be a cakewalk, at least for Liverpool. I don't know. It's tough to say, especially with this whole Wijnaldum Thiago thing that doesn't seem to be ending whatsoever. And then the overall performances kind of since the break, I guess since it started back in right after the bubble started. But I personally do not think it's going to be that much of a cakewalk. And as you'll see, I currently have City to win the title this year, I think.
I mean, since you brought up the transfer business that Liverpool's trying to do, who would you pick over each other, like Gini or Thiago? Who would you take?
Well, right now, what the ideal scenario would be is to keep Gini, sell some other fringe players, and get Thiago. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. This is a situation. Yeah, I guess I would just trust Klopp whether he wants to go with his tried and tested, which is what he typically does in a scenario like this. But I don't know. I don't know. It feels like we just need new blood to get some sort of motivation back in the squad more than an actual direct replacement for a player.
An actual upgrade, right? It's just fresh stuff.
And Liverpool I think they need like a couple more signings to actually, compete. Not just compete, like, because City and Chelsea have been upgrading their squads and we haven't done that in the last 2 or 3 transfer windows. But I think we need a centre-back replacement because Gomez and Matip both have not finished a season for Liverpool without getting injured, and we've sold Lovren. So I think a centre-back is definitely something that Klopp should invest in. And even more than that, I think what we need is someone who can fill in for any of the front three, because Origi doesn't
that's what I
cut
would
it.
say.
Brewster doesn't, like, he could, but like right now he's nothing. And
It
like
seems like
Minamino,
Takumi is the one, right?
Minamino
Or
feels like
the
that, but just to compete for a season, how when he bought Van Dijk and Alisson, it was a different thing. He bought players where we knew they're world class. So you need something like that who can compete, who can actually challenge Mane and Salah for their position, so that puts them up and like drives them to do even better. That hunger should still be there. And we've got really lucky with injuries with the front three also. So I don't know if
But
that will continue in this new season.
another viewpoint of that would be like if you do sign other players, then you would hinder there would be less minutes for the likes of Elliot and Curtis Jones as well. So
I
I think
mean,
maybe
I
Klopp's
feel like
thinking of
we have enough like competitions to actually play them in. Carling Cup, FA Cup till the 4th, 5th round they can play, and they're only 16, 17, 18 maximum. So it's not like they need too much first team play. Like they are always there in the squad and everything. And getting one player to not replace, to like fight for those front three spots, I think is needed just to like keep that world class level of the squad, not just the first 11 in, especially if you're competing for trophies like Premier League and Champions League.
And especially since you've won them already, there will be like you're human beings, right? Like there will be a little bit of complacency. Like they're not like robots. That first title is always the sweetest, and then after that, it's the toughest thing to keep motivating yourself. And I definitely agree that if you added like another player who could potentially like not obviously replace the three of them, but someone that you'd consider, oh, this guy could, like if Mane is having a really bad game, Firmino's having like a stretch of 10 bad games, they'll consider shit like this guy's going to be in our position if we don't buck
Firmino
things
never
up,
has
right?
stretches of bad games though. Firmino is pretty consistent.
Pure
He scores
consistent.
especially at Anfield.
But before we move on, I just want to talk about City, because I think City's business has also been a little peculiar, like they signed RK when everybody was calling out for a centre back, but he's exactly in the mold of Laporte, and everyone says that Guardiola will never play two left-footed centre backs together, but I wonder, I mean, I don't know. I think they had a really good opportunity to like really strengthen their squad, and they haven't seemed to do that. They let Silva go. And I guess obviously with the intention of blooding Foden in to the team. But I don't know. What do you guys do? Exactly. Sane was like a huge piece of their 2 title-winning seasons. What do you think that, what is going to motivate? What difference? Why did Bala put City first is my question. I put City first because I thought Messi was going to come, but I want to know why you put City.
The reason for me comes back to that point of you saying that, I don't want to call Liverpool complacent because that's unfair because the season hasn't even started, but it's just, when Liverpool lost the title 2 seasons ago, they came back and it wasn't even signings that really did the trick for them. It was that motivation of having lost the previous season.
So close, right? Coming so close.
Right. And I think, we all know Pep's a perfectionist, and then we know obviously the way that they just got embarrassed last season of, how many ever points it was in the end, 2025. I just think that will, eventually come strong. And then I guess it was also my assessment of just Liverpool seems to, I don't know, they don't have that. They've been conceding goals a lot lately and stuff like that.
No, and Sane was let go and they immediately replaced him with Ferran Torres. Their centre back was an issue. They got RK and they are most likely to sign Koulibaly too. And they have they have 2 world-class players for every single position.
Yeah, that is.
And last year they didn't have that for their centre back. So yeah, but for Silva also, it's like Foden was already being introduced to the squad, how they play in that exact position. So it's like somewhat better managed, and like obviously because of the money invested, also we say it's better managed. But it's like they are in a better position to start the season with greater squad depth to actually compete for all trophies available.
I mean,
and even after the restart.
My main reasoning for City winning is just Guardiola's record in leagues. I mean, he's literally lost only three seasons. Over like all of Europe, and that's pretty crazy, I would say. And knowing that he's a perfectionist, I don't think he's gonna let the season go lightly. So I think I just want to point that Bala made. Actually, this reminds me of something which is like
considering it's the NBA playoffs right now. Liverpool last season, like when Ray Allen hit that three to save LeBron and the Heat in Game 6, and then the Heat went on to beat the Spurs. And the next season, the Spurs were like possessed, like till the final. They were just like, there is only one thing we're going to do is undo that mistake of last season. And they destroyed the Heat in the final. And that's exactly what Liverpool did to City last season. So this will be a real test of both their mental fortitude to see how they both come back, right? Like last season was more of a gut reaction. But talking about teams coming back this season, I think we mentioned this in a little bit, but I posed this question to you guys just before we started recording. Do you see Chelsea? Where do you think they stand? I think it's very clear that City and Liverpool are the two best teams in the country, but Chelsea have done some incredible business, and on paper, at least, they look like they have a team that can compete. Do you believe that, this will be a season too early for them? What do you guys think of the business they've done? And without a doubt, the biggest splashers, the biggest event of this summer transfer window has been Chelsea.
Yeah, I definitely think Werner, I don't think he's going to drop an inch. I don't think he'll drop a step. I think he's just going to continue banging in goals. Out of their signings, I don't think he'll need too much time to adjust. In terms of Ziyech and Havertz, I mean, the one thing, especially with Havertz, is the youth. How young he is definitely helps him because, he has, that as I don't want to use the word excuse, but extra thing to fall back on in terms of actually being successful. The one thing that I'm not totally convinced on is, I know obviously they've made signings, but will they still continue to leak goals at the back? Thiago Silva obviously brings the leadership, brings title winning, but he is on the back end of his career. That would be the biggest thing for me. I mean, I think they're definitely, I'd put them the third best team in the country at the moment, but obviously we haven't seen a football be kicked. So
they also got in Ben Chilwell, which obviously helped because that was a weakness for them.
Huge point.
And honestly, he's not that much of an upgrade on it.
Lampard to actually go to a back four from that back three that, he was being forced to play with the people he had. And also, Kante was not fit for most of the season. He's going to help out a lot in that midfield and let the
But Kante hasn't been himself for like over a year and a half.
I completely agree with that too.
Declining, dude.
Yeah, Kante has not been himself even when he's played.
And that's one thing he's like a Essien Makelele type of player, but at the moment he loses his physicality, the drop is incredible because he has absolutely nothing else to offer but that hustle and that energy and those four lungs, right? So he's such a player who's dependent on his athleticism, and poor guy, I mean, he's been getting injured constantly, and I think it's just taking a toll on his game as well. But Anita,
I have a different theory actually from mine. It's Arsene Wenger's theory. He warned about teams signing too many first team players in one season. I mean, he spoke about this when Madrid did it with the Galacticos, and they had a horrible first season.
First season.
Spurs, with the Bale money, they signed 6-7 players, and none of them, I think only Lamela.
Lamela didn't work out. I thought he was
so that way, I don't know. They signed 4 or 5 so far, and I don't think Malang Sarr is counted as a first team.
No, I don't. No,
I still drafted him, but we'll move on from that. He didn't spend a day at Chelsea. He's loaned straight back.
Yeah, I was going to say, wasn't he loaned straight? He still drafted him?
But that doesn't mean you can't draft him, bro. That doesn't mean... So he said... He's like, bro, he might play some games. I said, how about no games? But anyway, coming back to...
You can get loaned back for specific games. You just can't play against...
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, that coupled with what Bala said about that defense, maybe they can, not live up to their...
And that's a great point, Anish, because that is a real test of Frankie Fat Frank right now. If he can figure this out, it's a real testament to, I was reading this article on The Guardian, this is the test, is Frank a genius? If he can fix this and get all these boys, because they're all boys, they're all 21, 22-year-old kids. So if he can figure it out, they have an incredible squad moving forward. Because just think, if all of these guys hit the ground running, especially Werner and Havertz, they could have a really special, it'd be like a Aguero, David Silva type signings,
And Kovacic was really good last year. So they have players to work with too.
No, and it's just think about how Chelsea, what the thought or like, what the image of Chelsea was before last season. When they started last season, it was like no transfers, nothing, just you, Tammy Abraham, Mason Mount playing, and now it's just like switch. They've done so much business, and the expectations are really high. I feel like Lampard did so well because expectations from that season were so low, and now they're just so high. It'll be like the fans will be demanding results or even a trophy because Chelsea fans are now used to that. So it's going to be a real test for him.
And, like you said, I think that's an incredible, like, that's a perfect point because then that anything last year was a bonus, right? Like them finishing fourth was a huge bonus. So therefore they had that ability to play with a little more freedom. There was like stretches in the season where they didn't look particularly good, but everybody was like, it's okay. It's a group of young boys. Now, when you've put like another 300 million pounds into that squad, the owner as well is going to look at it differently, right? I feel like for him, in the beginning for Abramovich, it was like, this is my boy, Frank, I'm going to like side with him. But now he's really backed him big time and they can't.
Can they finish in the top two?
I still don't think so, but.
No, I don't think so.
So what would you say is a successful season? Like third place in FA Cup, would you consider that a successful season?
Yeah, third place, but a close third place.
Absolutely. Like I think the difference between second and third this year was a joke, right? Like it was like some 50 points. Like next season, it has to be a little bit closer. And they're very close to signing this keeper, Edouard Mendy from Rennes, who actually has apparently a crazy story. 5 years ago, he was playing like semi-professional football. And he's going to replace the world's most expensive goalkeeper, man. Like, that is absolutely... In one season. Like, that guy got one season. No, actually two. But anyway, speaking of new players coming into the league, I think there's these three new... And obviously there's every year there's three new teams. But I think this Leeds team comes in with the most excitement and the most hype of any team
from a relegation
I've seen,
team
in the years before.
Yeah.
No doubt. I'm hearing Leeds fan on Twitter say, watch, they're like bantering Liverpool fans saying, watch what we do to you guys. I'm like, calm down,
I mean, Anitej is a big Leeds guy because he drafted Rodrigo, right? So Anitej, you can give us some insight.
Wait, in the fourth round.
Yeah, Bala claimed to watch all 40 of the games last season, but the one game that I did see was when they came to Emirates to play against Arsenal, and they were really, really good. The only thing that I would say is I don't know if they can sustain this type of football they play for the entire 90 minutes against the Premier League side. That's the only thing that they have to rectify, probably.
Hope that the one glimmer of hope that they do have is I don't think their manager is naive in any sense. He's managed all over the world, and Pep's.
But he's a little eccentric that way. He's like very pure.
He is
like
stubborn for sure. Stubborn for sure, but I feel like he isn't naive. Like I don't think he would come in. Right? Yeah, like I just feel like he definitely will try to stick to his ideologies. For sure, but I think he will make the adjustments necessary to get results at certain clubs and whatnot.
Yeah, and if there was no corona, we'll probably go to the extent of sending spies to Anfield and prepare for the first game there.
And another interesting team is actually Fulham. With Scotty P coming up.
He's done a brilliant job. Man.
Yeah. They kind of like sneak through Brentford, who were the team that everybody expected to be like the one that was coming up. But Joe Bryan with a special free kick. But what do you like? All of us have West Brom and Fulham going down. Is that just because we couldn't think of any three other names? Because that's what it was for me. But
I don't know.
Go ahead.
The other relegation candidates or people you would assume to be relegated. All like the other teams that you would look at, like Brighton, Burnley, and whatnot, at least I feel like are teams that know what it takes to survive. They'll play defensively and they can definitely scrape through at least surviving in the league. Last time we saw Fulham in the league, obviously they were a little bit naive. So that was my biggest thinking overall, and just the firepower of the other teams.
Yeah, but under Scotty P, I think they're defensively a lot more conservative. Like they know how to defend. The previous Fulham team just didn't know. Like they would give away spaces for attacking teams and just be so easy. But this seems a little more solid that way. But how about West Brom? Slaven Bilic coming back to the Premier League. what do you make of them? They got pretty lucky to get into the Premier League this season, actually, because they were like bottling it towards the end.
That's exactly like so. One of the guys who's one of the world's best FIFA players is a West Brom fan, and I follow on Twitter, and he was like, he's like, we did everything we could to bottle promotion, but somehow all the results around them went their way for it to happen. But yeah, so I think that's actually, I mean, yeah. So the new teams, like going to be interesting. I think Leeds will be like a great watch. I think Liverpool again paid the odds makers to make them play against the newly promoted team at home, and that team will again come try to attack them. They'll score 5. And then at halftime, Apur will ask some guy, "Can you get me beers from upstairs?" So it's going to be a repeat of last season exactly with the bully boy Apur Bhagat. But anyway, so one team we were talking about, Chelsea. I think we forgot to mention another team that's been doing a lot of business and have completely reshaped their team is Everton. Another season of disappointment for the Blues, or what do we expect to see? That midfield looks
How
really
can you expect anything but disappointment for Everton? Like, what have they ever given everyone?
The balance that they got, especially in the midfield, was the biggest thing. Not just the names, but it's truly the balance in terms of having a guy that sits back, having the creativity, and then having the box-to-box with Doucouré, James, and Allen, especially, like Ancelotti reuniting with 2 former players in Allen and James. And, James had his best ever league season for goals and assists under Ancelotti. So, I mean, at the end of the day,
Ancelotti's record since he came in was so much better. I don't think they've lost a game at Goodison Park since he's come in. So things were looking up, but with Everton, I don't know what to expect because they still finished bottom half.
They do tend to, disappoint a little bit, but it's tough when you're in the same city as Liverpool. Can I say?
No, but then coming off of Apur's one before Bala's snarky comment, where you spoke about their record after Ancelotti took over, and I think it would have been even better if they hadn't had that terrible patch after lockdown. They were one of those teams that literally just looked like they were just there to finish their games. They didn't look like interested whatsoever, and it seemed like they were just mailing it in because they had literally nothing to play for, right? And like we said, I think we mentioned in those episodes that this new season is going to bring out so much difference. So to even compare Liverpool's performances in the post-restart period to what to expect from them, I think would be like a little bit premature. I think we still have to watch a few more games in this season before we do that. And is there anybody else to add anything about Everton?
No.
So talking about I think Everton, Anita said there's nothing to be surprised about. They are gonna fail. We have a list of surprises that each one of us have come up with one surprise of the season. And
my surprise for this season, even though I didn't mention them in my list of relegated teams, I think Sheffield United could have a pretty bad season this year because I think everyone knows what they're going to do. They got 2 new signings, both of them fullbacks. So you can pretty much expect the same thing that they did this year. And I'm pretty sure teams will be better prepared for them. So I don't know if they're going to have I think they will have a second season syndrome.
And their home support was such a huge part of their, being such a successful team. And that's not going to be there this season. And do either of you want to go next or can I go next?
Yeah. If you want to go.
Okay. My surprise is actually inspired by a recent documentary I watched on Amazon Prime. Don't tell me that is going to be yours.
Mine was first. I was telling you that Harry Kane is going to score 30. The Mourinho second season.
I don't know, man. For some reason, I think it's the Mourinho second season. I don't know if I saw them being a little bit happier than I expected them to be in that video. I don't know. I just think this is it. This is it for Mourinho. If he doesn't make things work for Spurs, that's the end. His next job will be like a Newcastle or a West Ham, West Brom. That's the level he's gonna have to find himself at because this is his last shot at a legitimate Champions League not contending, but at least a team that can claim to be up there, that can make the quarters, the semis off there. So I think they're gonna have a good season. I really see them contesting for the top 4. They've made some good signings. I think Doherty is a great signing.
Højbjerg, we needed that guy.
I drafted him.
Højbjerg? Oh, you drafted Doherty. So Then we know. Then we know it's a good signing.
Yeah, exactly. Now you know.
But anyway, I think Apur's point is something similar to mine, so you can just carry on with your
yeah,
surprise.
mine is definitely.
But your surprise was
Spurs.
more specific, right? Yours was more.
No, mine is to do with Mourinho, the whole second season thing. And I backed it up by putting him in my predictions, which y'all can see on Instagram, by the way. The Spurs are in my top 4. And I think they will reach the ahead of United and Arsenal, which is a controversial shout. But I definitely do think Mourinho has something in his locker and he's actually going to do something with the team because still, even with Vertonghen gone, they still have a good first 11, arguably as good as United's first 11. So,
Sure.
So I feel like he can bring out the best in players, especially when he's had one season with them. He's had his time and now they know how he works and how crazy he can be. And they've dealt with that whole thing, I feel like they will surprise us, hopefully.
It'll be interesting to watch, though. Definitely, like one of the, I guess typically a Mourinho team is always one of the most talked about teams in the Premier League, but it's a good thing for them that I feel like for him, especially that Spurs are a little bit under the radar. They don't have the same expectations of a Chelsea or a United. So it'll be interesting to see how he does with them. But finally, we have the man who came up with the segment and stuff with.
I just have
hot take of the season.
I have so many hot takes. I think I think my hot take is going to be that James Rodriguez finds his form again and makes PFA Team of the Year.
I would love that. I'd be a fan of that.
That is a hot take.
It's a hot take. I don't know so much about PFA Team of the Year, but in the discussion has a very, very good season.
You think he'll reach 10 goals, 10 assists? Like, is that what you're expecting and could be a surprise?
Yeah, like something like a solid season like that. Yeah.
No, but then if you're Spanish or Latin, you just need 6 goals and 10 assists, and you can make the Team of the Season.
Yeah, like David Silva making PFA Team of the Year. That makes sense. Yeah.
Ahead of Jack Grealish, who only single-handedly kept his team in the promotion. Yeah, but
dude, how is he not getting a transfer? How are United or someone not going for him?
I think Villa incredibly overvaluing him, and deservedly so, right? Like, they are so desperate to get anything out of him. But honestly, I think Arsenal, imagine Grealish at Arsenal, man. I think that would be such a good signing. But obviously Arsenal are not smart. They'll sign something.
My hot take was going to be Arsenal might do well this season, but then I thought about their team and I was like, nah.
That's not happening.
I mean, I would say the team's a lot better, but than last season for sure.
But yeah, I mean, definitely. So we'll this first round of fixtures is the hot take central. So we'll join you next week for another bunch of hot takes after watching these 10 games. And till then, everybody have a good Corona. Or whatever.
Okay, done.
That was good timing, dude.